live and do a little magic unboxing. I did these when Foundations went live, but I didn't do a live unboxing. But it took me a long time to open 10 boosters. It was like 45 minutes to open 10 boosters. So I was like, oh, do I even really want to do this live? Because I know it's going to take me forever. I've been playing Magic for the past few months and really enjoying it. So, Tarkir Dragonstorm, I really went all in on buying all of the new stuff. So, I picked up 6 booster boxes, all of the commander decks, and also one of these bundles. I'm not getting into the commander, or not the commander, the collector boosters just yet because, again, I'm still really new to all this and just getting cards that look cooler or maybe are more valuable or not necessarily something that I'm trying to make too much of a priority for my fledgling magic collecting situation. So I'm still just kind of looking forward to the basics, and I thought I would do a little unboxing here of at least this bundle. If this goes well, I may do some of the booster boxes live as well, but we'll see about that because I'm going to be very slow. So if you are the type of person who just wants to see the rares of these packs, then this is probably not for you because I haven't really looked at a whole lot of spoilers. Of course, I've seen like the big rares and mythics that are all over social media from this set, but I'm going to be looking at the commons. I'm going to be looking at the uncommons. I don't know much about any of those. So that is what my priority is going to be here. And with these bundles, which I got a Foundations bundle, so this looks pretty familiar to me. Kind of a nice little storage box to hold a lot of your stuff. And with these inserts, they actually make them somewhat useful with some tokens and things. But that is one of the things that I've already done, which has been to uh, really get a lot of tokens and stuff. So, like the +1/+1 tokens, I picked up tons of those kind of dice and stuff like that. I'm not entirely sure what this kind of thing is for. So if anyone can explain if these have a use in the game, that would be very handy, or if it's just like decoration. But it is cool that they turn these otherwise useless cardboard inserts into some tokens and things for people who aren't really, don't have a lot of that other kind of stuff. But look at these dice. Oh my gosh. This is actually very cool. Of course, I like using my click down counter, my click down life counter, but I always appreciate the new spin downs whenever a new set comes out. And this one actually looks pretty cool. Ruben, hello, how are you doing? Because I just like the almost universal or nebula kind of look to this with the silver numbers. That looks very cool. And then you get all kinds of other stuff in here. So you obviously have the boosters. What did it say? There were 9 boosters in here, so that's fantastic. And then we also have these lands. Now, these lands I'm honestly really excited about because I can always use more lands when I'm making decks, and I love swapping out my generic lands for like full art lands. So yeah, it sounds like there's going to be 15 regular basic lands, but also 15 foil lands as well. So let's take a look at those first. The back of the box makes it look like there are going to be some full art lands here as well. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. I was like, what is this guy? But um, he was advertised on this pack as well. This Teamer Battle Crier, which honestly is very exciting for me because I have a dragon deck. I may include this guy in there. It is a Tiamat deck. I know that's the most unoriginal deck type right now for sure. But this guy will be fantastic in there. I think he's a 4/3. I really don't necessarily care too much about the power of him. Toughness 3 is going to be kind of handy because obviously someone may want to try. Well, not necessarily. You can still bolt him, which wouldn't be the best. So if I use any kind of phrasing or terminology, just remember, just be kind because I am still kind of a magic novice. But during your turn, spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. And I just realized that is all spells. Holy smokes. Wait, I need to like wrap my mind around this for a second because that seems incredibly useful. During your turn, spells cast for one less generic for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. And in my dragons deck, I mean, my God, I could be getting things out there for basically just their colored mana value. How exciting would that be? So I don't know why when I first glanced at him, I thought it was, just either one less to cast if you control something 4 or greater, or um, it was just like creature spells or creatures of a chosen type cost less to cast for each creature 4 or greater. But no, this is literally all spells you cast are one less. If he had one more toughness, I'd feel a little bit better about it, but we'll see. There's obviously going to be way bigger priority. He could be a red herring. I love the idea of red herrings. Like, just throw him out there in a Tiamat or an Dragon deck when I heard someone call them circus decks when they're all 5 colors. So yeah, he's going to be easy to get out there. And if someone decides to use some removal on him, you know what? Good for you. I wasn't even counting on him anyways. He was just there for you to spend your removal on. So that's fantastic. But look at these. Oh my gosh, I love it. I wish that they were 15 full art. Even if they weren't foils, just give me 15 full arts. Honestly, just sell. Why don't they do that? Why doesn't Wizards sell just a huge pack of full art lands? I feel like you could make so much money off of packs of full art lands and do guest artists, do other fantastic renowned artists, and do tons of full art lands. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. But these are all gorgeous, of course. So you have the 15 foils, 5 full arts. I wish they were all full art, but then you do have the rest of these foils. So that's still handy for me. I am going to go through some of my decks and pull out the basic lands and replace them with these foils. So that's kind of a nice little thing in that bundle. And then I assume these are the 15 regular old lands. But looks like at least a few of them are still full art. So that is kind of nice. So you have one of each of the non-foil full arts, and then you have the different, and at least they are different, the different art style of the lands from Dragonstorm, and a couple reference cards as well. So those are the lands. And now let's get into the fun stuff, folks. Now these are admittedly going to be my first. I haven't opened any of these packs yet. I opened this booster box, but I haven't touched the packs. So these are going to be the first 9 Tarkir Dragonstorm play boosters that I've opened so far, period. All right, let's see what we got. And again, don't forget, I am a total magic novice. I don't know how long I can keep saying that that's what I am, but I feel like I can at least say it for a little while longer. I have no clue where the rare is here. I have no clue any of that. I can't like take a few and pop them in the back or whatever. I don't know. Is this guy double-sided or something? Oh, he was a token. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. And I'm going to go through these slowly because this is the first time that I'm going to have seen myself any of these cards. So here we go. Sagu Pummeler for 4. We have a 4/4 with reach and that renewability. That's actually really cool. On the Buy a Box promo, there was that 3/3 vampire with Death Touch, Lifelink, and Flying that went instantly into my vampire deck because that was just so cool. But this guy also has renew. So for 4 and exile it, put 2/1/1 counters and a reach counter on target creature. That's fantastic. So I like that renewability. It gives you some value. Otherwise, it is just a 4/4 with reach. It is a beast, though. So it's nice to see those kind of tribal types. All right, and then we have an Unending Whisper for 1. Draw a card, and then you can harmonize. You can cast this card from your graveyard for its harmonized cost. Tap a creature you control to reduce that cost by X, or X is its power. So that's kind of cool also. Just maybe get 2 uses out of that for essentially not a whole terribly lot. Maybe just a blue mana each. Okay, Osseous Exhale for 2, and as an additional cost to cast the spell, you can behold a dragon, and it deals 5 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. But if you beheld a dragon, you also gain 2 life. For all those lifelink triggers out there, Shock Brigade. It's a 1/3 with Menace with Mobilize 1. Whenever it attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token, but sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Someone smarter than me is going to have to tell me what kind of combos you can do with that. I'm sure there's, an Elspeth combo where you, every time you create a token, create a second token or something like that. Because, man, but still, a 1/3 with Menace for 2 isn't terrible, even if it didn't have that Mobilize ability. Then we have a Feral Death Gorger. This is a dragon, 6 cost 3, 5 flying Death Touch dragon. When this creature enters, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. But you could do the Omen Sorcery for 2, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card, and then shuffle this back into the library. Then we have a Jadecast Sentinel, an ape snake artifact creature. That is fantastic. An ape snake artifact creature, a 1/5 for 4 mana, put target creature from a graveyard on the bottom of owner's library. I have to see that in multiple ways. If you wanted to tutor for a creature that has already fallen into your graveyard, or if you know someone, especially with these new commander decks also, someone's going to be pillaging their graveyard for something, maybe you'd rather have it replaced into their owner's library instead of it being easily accessible from their graveyard. So that's interesting. But 1/5 with reach is also not bad itself as a defense against some flying. We have the Monastery Messenger. This is multiple different kinds of hybrid mana, which is interesting. 2/3 flying vigilance. When this creature enters, put up to 1 target non-creature, non-land card from your graveyard on top of your library. Bro, this is like annoying. Nala, I apologize sincerely from the bottom of my heart for being a magic noob, but you gotta bear with me, or find something else to do with your Sunday. Next, we have a Corey Mountain Stalwart for 3. It's a 3/3 with Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, this creature deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. Very interesting. So you get a few of those out there, and you're casting your second spell all the time. That would be pretty crazy. Next, we have the Abzan Monument for 2. This is an uncommon artifact. When this artifact enters, search your library for a basic plain, swamp, or forest. Put it in your hand. And then for 4, tap, sacrifice this artifact. Create a blank white spirit creature token where X is the greatest toughness among creatures you control. That would be a cool one in that Tarkir Dragonstorm Abzan Armor deck. Abzan Armor deck, where they call it the big butts deck, I guess, with the big toughness. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, when it enters, you get to search for a basic land and put it into your hand. But I guess the whole point is doing that and then sacrificing it for a creature. All right, next we have a Krumar Initiate. 2/2 for 2 human cleric. You can pay whatever. Pay X life. This creature endures X. And that endure thing is that put a number of 1/1 counters on it or create a blank white spirit creature token. So that is also interesting. If the spirit creature had flying, I guess if you're doing a spirit deck where spirit is kind of your tribal thing and like all your spirits get something, that could be pretty interesting. Otherwise, yeah, it is a little tough to swallow. Like if it was without the paying the life, now unless you have some trigger that goes along with that, then that could be a little bit harsh. We have the Wingblade Disciple for 3. It's a 2/2 flying with Flurry. Whenever you cast your second spell, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. Now that is a Flurry trigger that I can get behind for sure. All right, we have a rare card here. We have a snake. We have Fangkeeper's Familiar. For 4 mana, you get a 3/3 snake with flash, and when this creature enters, choose one. You can either gain 3 life and surveil 3, or you can destroy target enchantment or counter target creature spell. Honestly, destroying target enchantment would be huge in my estimation. And then we have our foil, which is the Fire Rim form for 2 flash and enchant creature. When this aura enters, enchanted creature gains first strike until end of turn. Enchanted creature gets +2/+0. I do like these flash enchantments because unlike, especially one like this, I mean, it costs 2. There are other instants that only cost 2 and do what this one does, and it goes away at the end of the turn. So this is not too bad then. So it does only gain the first strike until end of turn, but otherwise it still gets the +2. So I actually really like that. That Fire Rim form, that's an interesting one. Then we have the Bloodfell Caves. That enters tap, tap, and you gain a life. So landfall triggers for that. And actually we got a bird token, so that'll go well with that other card we have on the other side of that was that monk. But those Bloodfell Caves, I actually prefer. Some people were really against temples, and I actually liked the temple because, and if you obviously it depends on what your deck is. If you have lifelink, or not lifelink, but if you have gain life triggers, then that would be good for you. I personally like the scry triggers over the gain life triggers. But that was our very first Tarkir Dragonstorm booster pack. Very interesting. I'm not sure if there was anything in there that I'd be too crazy about adding to my Dragon Commander deck out of those, but that was only the first out of 9. So let's see what pack 2 has to offer. Here we go. For 4, we have a 3/4 human warrior. This is the Erishan Sunshield. When this creature enters, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard, and you can spend 1 to tap and tap target creature. I always love the tap target creature not triggers, abilities, because those can be so useful. This one's a little pricey though. So you have a 4 mana value human warrior that can do that. Now the 4 toughness is nice because it can't just be bolted then, because you know people are going to be not too pleased with you tapping their blocker all the time if they have, like, you had a lot of flying and maybe they have someone with reach or flying or something, and then you want to tap that to get your hit through. Then we have a Molten Exhale for 2. It's a sorcery. You can cast this spell as though it had flash if you behold a dragon. So there you go. And what it does, though, is it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Honestly, that the planeswalker damage is very nice. All right, and then the worthy cost for 1 is an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature to exile target creature or planeswalker. I do kind of like that, especially if you're running tokens and just sack a little token to do that. That'd be fantastic, especially for 1 mana. That's great. And then we saw this is our first duplicate from the other pack. We have a Sagu Pummeler for 4/4 reach. So I won't spend too much time on cards that we have already seen. Unending Whisper, we saw that one as well. We have a Dragonstorm Globe. So this is a 3-cost artifact. Each dragon you control enters with an additional 1/1 counter on it and tap for a mana of any color. Oh, that's really nice. It's a little pricey at 3, but I mean, you get that early enough and you tap your Soul Ring for it, and then every dragon you're going to be playing for the rest of the game is going to get an extra 1/1 counter on it, and it can tap to help you get out your Tiamat or your Dragon or whatever. Yeah, I may have to consider that actually. We have another Jadecast Sentinel, 1/5 with reach. Enough said. Fresh Start for 2. Enchant creature gets -5, -0, and loses all abilities. I actually do really like that. I like that quite a bit. That's actually hilarious. All right, next we have the Starry-Eyed Skyrider. This is a human scout, 3 for a 1/3 with flying, but whenever it attacks another target creature you control gains flying until end of turn. And this is just straight across the board. Attacking tokens you control have flying, giving your tokens flying. Yikes. Skirmish Rhino for 3. It's a 3/4 trample. When this creature enters, each opponent loses 2 life. You gain 2 life. We have an Inspired Vanguard for 5. It is a 3/2. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, it endures 2. That endure thing is actually really cool too. I actually really like that endure. So you could put 2 1/1s on it or create a 2/2 white spirit creature token. So otherwise, you'd be paying 5 for that, though. That's what gets me. But it'd be 5 mana, and you could potentially have a 5/4 with nothing special about it. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I'd rather have the spirit then. All right, then we have Tursa Light Shatter. Is this our rare? No, this is still a... For some reason, it looked gold to me. No, this is an uncommon. 3 for a 3/3 with haste. When they enter, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. And whenever they attack, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, exile a card at random from your graveyard, and you can play that card this turn. That's interesting. Exile it at random, and then you could potentially play it. So that is kind of funny. All right, this is another one of those multicolor possibilities here. Wait, was that our rare then? Yeah, actually it was. For some reason, I thought that was silver, but no, that is the rare. All right, we then have the Gurmag Night Watch for potentially 3, but it's that colorless hybrid kind of thing. 3/3. When this creature enters, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may put one of those cards back on top of your library and put the rest into your graveyard. Human Ranger is our foil, and then we have our Tranquil Cove. And I did mention that. It seems like a lot of these non-basic lands are these life-gaining lands, whatever the actual terminology for that is. And then we have a soldier token, flip side of another soldier token. So we have 2/2 soldier token. We have a 1/1 soldier token. All right, very cool. That was pack number 2. Here we go with pack number 3. Third pack ever that I've opened of Tarkir Dragonstorm. So let's see what we have. With the Champion of Doosan, we have a 3 for a 4/2 Trampler with Renew. And in this case, the Renew ability is exile this card from your graveyard and put a 1/1 counter and trample counter on target creature. Yeah, these Renew things are so cool. 3 for a 4/2 with trample itself wouldn't be the worst. And then you still have the Renew ability when it hits the graveyard. So there you have it. You have the Agent of Codis, a 2 for a 2/1 with Renew, and this Renew is expensive for 4. Exile this card from your graveyard, put 2 1/1 counters on a creature. Man, that's a bit of a pricier Renew. We have the Dragonback Lancer. This is a human soldier, so this is the one that I may be interested in because I do have a soldier deck. We have 4 mana for a 3/3 flying with Mobilize 1. That's a little bit of a toughie. If you didn't have to sacrifice those tokens, though I get it, it must have some combo with token generating decks or every time creature enters kind of decks. We then now have Fire Rim Form. This is the one that we saw last time. 2 for the get the +2 and first strike, so it's cool that it has splash. And then we have Dragon's Prey. For 3, the spell costs 2 more to cast if it targets a dragon, otherwise destroy target creature. So that is somewhat interesting. I mean, destroy target creature in general, anything but a dragon for 3, when you do have other things like murder or, oh my gosh, the other one escapes me, the one that I actually have in my hero something, I can't remember what it's called, in my vampire deck. We have another Dragonstorm Globe, which is one that I'm seriously considering adding to my Dragon Commander deck. Then we have the Lightfoot Technique. For 2, it's an instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It gains flying and indestructible to the end of turn. All right, Breaching Dragonstorm. So here we go. We have finally a card referencing the actual set name For 5 mana, you have this enchantment. It states that when this enchantment enters, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, and then you can cast it without paying its mana cost if that spell's mana value is 8 or less. If you don't, put that card into your hand. When a dragon you control enters, return this enchantment to its owner's hand. I'm going to have to read that again because that just confused me. I get the part about when it enters, exile those cards, and then you have that non-land card that you can cast without paying its mana cost if it was 8 or less. Otherwise, stick it in your hand. And then I guess it's just repeatable, but it's going to cost you 5 to keep repeating it. Lie in wait. So for 3, you have a sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and lie in wait deals damage equal to that card's power to target creature. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, you took out my big 6, 7, 8, 9 cost dragon. I'm going to bring that to my hand, and now your creature is going to suffer because of it. We have a Dalkovin Pack Beast for 3. It's a 0/4 Vigilance with Mobilize 3. Holy smokes, whenever it attacks, create 3 tapped and attacking 1/1 warrior tokens, but they all get sacrificed. But I guess that is kind of interesting because it's every single time it attacks. So that's actually kind of funny to me. Like, every time this 0/4 Ox attacks, you get 3 1/1s. That seems like that would be fantastic in your whatever token creation deck where you have all kinds of when creature enters triggers. United Battlefront for 4. So this is our rare. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put up to 2 non-creature, non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield. And then put the rest on the bottom. So look at the top 7. Put up to 2 non-creature, non-land permanents with 3 or less onto the... So this would be good in a white weenie deck, obviously. Oh my goodness, we have a mythic rare. Holy smokes. So in addition to our normal rare, we also got Shiko Paragon of the Way. So I watched the Talarian Community College video that he just put out about the top commanders, top dragon potential commanders from this set, not part of the actual commander decks, but just other cards that you could pull. And he showed, I think there were 5 that he was ranking, essentially the 5 spirit dragons from this set. And when I was looking at these, and again, this is just me being a Magic noob, I looked at this and I thought for sure this would be ranked 5th. I was like, all right, so it's a when it enters trigger, you can grab a mana value 3 or less from your graveyard and cast the copy. I wasn't too blown away by that, but he had this ranked number 1. This was the number 1 ranked Spirit Dragon potential commander from Tarkir Dragonstorm. And that blew my mind, but he explained it and I did kind of understand his explanation. But man, some of the other ones seemed really, really cool. This one, at first glance, to me, just being a Magic noob, did not seem that super exciting. But if the professor felt this was number 1, then I'm glad to have it. And maybe at some point I can figure out how to use it. And then we got a foil version of our Ox. So that's cool. And then the Windscarred Crag. So we've gotten one of each of these non-basic gain life lands. And then we have the Spirit token, and it is the 2/2 Spirit token and the 1/1 Spirit token. So with all of these, what is the ability that keeps putting the Spirit tokens out there? That other ability where it was Exalt, I think it was. So if I ever do anything with Exalt, I'll be excited to have some of those Spirit tokens. All right, that was pack number 3. Or was that pack number 4? Pack number 3, I guess. Oh my goodness. So this is why I am so slow at opening these. And this is why I don't know if I could open an entire Play Booster box live, because obviously it's taken me a million years to go through even just singular packs. All right, here we go. Focus the Mind. If you cast another spell this turn, this costs 2 less to cast. So instead of being 5, which is draw 3 cards, then discard a card. It would only be 3. So what do you think about 3 mana to draw 3 cards and discard a card? I'd say that is pretty good. So I probably wouldn't cast this for its full value. This would definitely be one to cast as your second or further spell for the turn. All right, then we have a Mardu Devotee. For 1, we have a 1/2 when this creature enters scry 2, and then you can pay 1 to add one of those 3 mana types. Activate only once a turn. Very interesting. All right, then we have the Meticulous Artisan. For 4, we have a 3/3 Jin Artificer with Prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets 1/1 till end of turn. But here's something that's cool. When this creature enters, create a treasure token. So that's pretty nice. We have our second Feral Deathgorger. For 6, we have a 3/5 Flying Death Touch and exile 2 cards from a graveyard. Piercing Exhale, we have a 2. I think this is the second card we've seen that had Exhale in its name. This one, though, is an instant for 2. As an additional cost, however, you can behold a dragon. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker, and if the dragon was beheld, surveil 2. This is fantastic. There may be a card in one of my decks, specifically my dragon deck, that could potentially use that, just because because there was that whole fight mechanic where each creature dealt power to each other. But no, I don't want you dealing power back to my creature. So these kind of cards are what I'd be looking for. Oh my goodness, we have an Artifact Chimera for Embermouth Sentinel for 2 Artifact Chimera for 2/1. When this creature enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, shuffle it, put it on top. If you control a dragon, put it onto the battlefield tapped instead. Wow. For 2, you get a 2/1 artifact that lets you put a land on the battlefield tapped. That's pretty sweet if you control a dragon. Oh my goodness. Well, that's interesting. Like, what even is that set symbol? That is like a mythic set symbol. I didn't even realize we were already back into the rares. But this is an Emergent Ultimatum. So for 7 mana, you have this sorcery. So here we go. Search your library for up to 3 multicolor cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards. Shuffle that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying their mana costs. Holy smokes. That is insane. That is crazy. Wow. That is so cool. I may have to snag that one for my dragon deck. Good lord. Sultai Monument. Because when you think about it, okay, so what would I look for? Well, I would probably look for, obviously, my Dragon. I would look for, I can't even think off the top of my head right now, Miriam. So I'd look for the Dragon, I'd look for Miriam, and I would look for a third multicolor dragon. What would it be? I'm blanking out on what it would be. But can you imagine even getting either one of those out just for free? That's so cool. All right, anyway, Sultai Monument, artifact for 2. When this artifact enters, search your library for a basic swamp, forest, or island. Yeah, we saw this already, I think. Actually, I think that there was a different one. So there must be multiple of these different monuments, probably to the different, whatever you want to call them, factions or whatever, because Sultai is obviously one of those. We have the Attuned Hunter. For 3 mana, we have a 3/3 Trampler. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, during your turn, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. That is crazy. With all the cards that exile things from the graveyard, yeah, that is pretty sweet. A 3/3 with Trample for 3 is already all right. And then you add in that it's going to get buffed every time a card leaves your graveyard. That is very cool. Wingblade Disciple, Flying and Flurry. Did we see this one already? Yeah, create a white bird every time you play your second spell for the turn. And then, now this is still an uncommon, the Corey Mountain Stalwart for 3. It's a 3/3 with Flurry. This Flurry says whenever you cast your second spell, this creature deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. Did we see that one already? I can't remember. And then our rare is the Naga Fleshcrafter, the Snake Shapeshifter. So for 4, you have a 0/0, but this creature can enter as a copy of any other creature on the battlefield. I have a friend who would probably love this card. He probably has already opened one in his booster box. He is all about the shapeshifters. And then this renew ability. Let's see what that is. Exile this card from your graveyard. Put a 1/1 counter on target non-legendary creature. Each other creature becomes a copy of that creature until end of turn. That is crazy. That is crazy. Oh my gosh. You have something out there that just is insane. And then every creature you control becomes that creature. But it does have to be non-legendary. So that's the caveat, right? You can't just be doubling, tripling, quadrupling up on your Dragons or your Miriams or whatever the case is. That otherwise, though, that is still a very cool card. And then we have the Purging Storm Brood. This is another just mono black dragon. Interesting. This is our foil. It has this omen, this instant omen. Target creature gets +2/+2 and lifelink and hexproof till end of turn for a whopping just 2 mana. That's cool. Or you can cast it for its dragon side, which is flying, ward, pay 2 life. When it enters, remove all counters from up to 1 target creature. That's also very cool. And then the Tranquil Cove, because what was that normally? Yeah, that was an uncommon. Tranquil Cove, another one of those, comes in tapped, gain a life, lands, and that was pack number 4. We're not even halfway through this pack, and it's already been 37 minutes. Good night. All right, pack number 5. We have the Twin Bolt. It deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets for 2. Nightblade Brigand for 3. We have a 1/3 Death Touch. I always love my mono black Death Touch. Mobilize 1. That would have been interesting if the Mobilize also had Death Touch. That'd be cool. But no, tap attacking red warrior creature token. When this creature enters, surveil 1, because obviously I don't know how often I'd be attacking with this. This would be probably something I would use in defense more than likely, but whatever the case may be. But when it enters, you do get to surveil 1. Snakeskin Veil, 1/1 counter on target creature you control, and it gains hexproof for a mere 1 mana, so a little protection there for something. Dispelling Exhale for 2. You have an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may behold a dragon and counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. But if a dragon was beheld, counter it unless their controller pays 4. Well, you know, I'll be beholding all my dragons. I beholding dragons. Bearer of Glory. It's a 2/1 soldier for 2. This creature has first strike during our turn, and for 5 creatures you control get 1/1 till end of turn. That's interesting, but not too excited about that guy. Aggressive Negotiations. For 3 mana, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, exile it, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. The Jadecast Sentinel, the 1/5 reach. We have the Auroral Procession for 2. Return target creature card from your graveyard, or not creature card, just card in general. From your graveyard to your hand, you'll be recasting basically anything just for 2 mana. Then we have the Bone Cairn Butcher. Oh my goodness. This is a 4/4 demon with Mobilize 2. And here you go. This is what we were just saying. This would be, you could do an entire Mobilize deck with this guy and just all your attacking tokens. Every time you're mobilizing, we saw that Ox where you would mobilize 3, You see this guy mobilize 2. We had that other Death Toucher with the mobilize. Every time you mobilize all those tokens, all those 1/1 little guys that they'd just be swallowing up and it wouldn't even matter. Now they all have Death Touch. So that's, I mean, he would have to be a must-have in your mobilized deck, I have to assume. The Static Snare for 5 with Flash. It costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. So that's fantastic. Enchantment that you would cast with Flash as you're attacking, presumably just for 1 white mana then. When this enchantment enters, exile target artifact or creature until this leaves the battlefield. So that is pretty sweet right there. For just a single mana, essentially, likely, you will be exiling something, an artifact or a creature. Then you have your Rennie's Rebuff for 2 sorcery. Return target creature card to its owner's hand with Harmonize 6. Good God. All Out Assault. This is a mythic. Good night. For 5, you have an enchantment. Creatures to control get 1/1 and have Death Touch. Oh my goodness, they all have Death Touch. When this enchantment enters, if it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase, followed by an additional main phase when you next attack this turn. Untap each creature you control. Holy smokes. That's actually fantastic for 5 mana. That's ridiculous in a multicolor deck. Oh, that is the second card that I have pulled now that I'm second or third that I'm really considering adding to my multicolor dragon deck. Then we have a Reputable Merchant with that interesting hybrid mana cost again. It's a human citizen, 2/2 human citizen. When this creature enters or dies, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. That seems crazy if you paid 6 mana for that. 6 mana for that? Even if you only paid 3 mana for that, if you paid one of each of those colors, you'd get a 2/2 and put a counter on somebody, but I guess you get to put 2 counters on them. I'm sure there's some way to exploit that with counter strategies, but otherwise it is a foil. And then we have the Scoured Barrens for our gain life land, and then we have another spirit token. So we're getting all the spirit tokens. All right, 4 packs left. Here we go. This is pack number, I want to say 6 of 9. All right, here we go. We have a Riling Dawnbreaker. All right, we have a common dragon here. It's 5 mana, 3/4 flying vigilant dragon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +1 until end of turn. Interesting. Sorcery is the Omen. Create a 2/2 white soldier creature token. So for 2, you can create a 2/2 white soldier creature token. Or you can cast it as a 3/4 flying vigilant dragon that gives a power buff when it attacks. Next up, we have a cat. We have a Rescue Leopard, a red cat. 3 cost 4/2. Whenever this becomes tapped, you can discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Oh boy, I can see that being exploited for sure. Delta Bloodflies, a 2 cost 1/2 flying insect. Whenever it attacks, if you control a creature with a counter on it, each opponent loses a life. We have the Anok Wayfarer, 2 cost 1/1 Dog Scout. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards. You may put a land from among them into your hand. If you don't, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. So I like that. In the event you don't draw that or reveal it or whatever the proper terminology is, you still get a consolation prize. So very interesting. And that's a Dog Scout, a mono green Dog Scout. All right, we have a Riverwalk Technique. This is a 4 cost instant. You choose one of these. Either the owner of target non-land permanent puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library, or simply counter target non-creature spell. Imagine paying 4 to counter a non-creature spell. That's pretty ridiculous. Coordinated Maneuver for 2. You have the option to choose one as an instant. It either deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to a creature or planeswalker, or you can destroy an enchantment. For 2 mana, that's much better. Then we have a Temur Tawny back. That's again that interesting hybrid mana cost situation. A 4/3 beast, and when it enters, draw a card, then discard a card. I got excited when I saw the Temur branding there because we already saw that one card that was really cool. All right, then we have Zurgo's Vanguard, a 3-cost mono red dog soldier with mobilize 1. It's a something 3. This creature's power is equal to the number of creatures you control. There you go. Purging Stormbrood, we just saw that guy, 5-cost mono black dragon, but I like that Omen. The 1 white, target creature gets 2/2 and gains lifelink and hexproof till end of turn. Dragon Sniper. I don't like that. Being a dragon player, I'm not excited about something called a Dragon Sniper, but it's Vigilance, Reach, Death Touch. It's a 1/1 for 1. I gotta say, even though I don't like it being called a Dragon Sniper as a dragon player, I still love this card. How fantastic is that? Just the utility of that. Someone's gonna have to deal with that. Otherwise, there you have it. 1/1 Vigilance, Reach, Death Touch for 1 mana. You gotta admit, that is fantastic. I love this guy. He was an uncommon. All right, then we have a rare here. We have the Bloom Vine Regent. This is a dragon, 5-cost mono green dragon. 4/5 flyer. Whenever this creature or another dragon you control enters, you gain 3 life. There you go. There is your life gain trigger for your dragon deck. But you could also cast this instead for its claim territory 3-cost sorcery, which states search your library for up to 2 basic forests, reveal them, put 1 on the battlefield, tap the other into your hand, then shuffle. That is an interesting little dragon there. And then, oh, we got double rares because we also have the Barren Steppe Siege for 4. It's an enchantment. As this creature enters, choose one of these 2, Abzan or Mardu. All right, so what do we have here? If you choose Abzan at the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. That's at the end of every end step. As an enchantment, every end step, you're putting counters on things. Or at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Wow, that's great. I actually really like that. That is a cool card. I like those choose between these option enchantments. Then we got our foil is the Lightfoot Technique, and then we have the Swiftwater Cliffs. All right, and then we have, ooh, different token this time. Look at the treasure token on the back side of the Zombie Druid. All right, some interesting cards there for sure. Here we go. This is pack number 7. And man, I don't know what it is, but these have been really easy to open. All right, we have the Devoted Duelist, a Goblin Monk, 2 cost for 2/1 with haste and flurry. This flurry is whenever you cast your second spell, this creature deals the damage to each opponent. So there you have that. We have the Nightblade Brigand again. We saw that guy earlier, 1/3 Death Touch with Mobilize 1. We have the Roamer's Routine, which is a 3-cost sorcery. Search your library for basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, and you also have the ability to harmonize. Dispelling Exhale for 2 as an additional cost. Behold a dragon, and we saw that one earlier too. Counter a spell unless it's pays 2 or 4. Bear of Glory, we saw that guy, the 2/1 first strike on your turn human soldier for 2. The Twin Bolt costs 2, deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Here we go. Here's another dragon. This is what we're here for. 5-cost mono red dragon. It's a 3/3 flying haste that can be buffed. Or you could cash it out as the Flush Out sorcery, which is an interesting card draw for red. Discard a card, and if you do, draw 2 cards. Encroaching Dragonstorm. Here's another one of these Dragonstorms. I think we saw one earlier, but wasn't it red? This one's a 4-cost enchantment. When it enters, search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped, and when a dragon enters, return this to its owner's hand. I want a card like this, but I want it to be for any land. Because like obviously in my dragon deck, I have only two types of basic land, forest and mountain. The rest are non-basic lands that tap for anything essentially, or different multicolors. Iridescent tiger. Oh my goodness, look at that. It just costs too much though. When it enters, you do get one of each for 3/4. Sandstep Citadel. Oh god. Okay, never mind. It enters tap, but you add one of those. So I'm gonna have to check my deck because this is the kind of thing that I have in there. These triplicate lands when it enters tap. But of course, you'll have in those kind of decks either an Amulet of Virtue or not Virtue, Vigor, or there was another one too, some kind of artifact creature where when a land enters tapped, you can untap it. Then we have the Corroding Dragonstorm. Oh my gosh, this is a cool artwork for this guy. It only costs 2. When this enchantment enters, each opponent loses 2, you gain 2, and then you surveil 2, and then you bring it back to your hand when a dragon enters. I like this one because it only costs 2, so you can keep replaying that for over that ability. Baron Step Siege, so that's a bit of a disappointment because we already had that, so now we have a duplicate rare. And then we have the Seize Opportunity for 3. Choose one of these. Have we seen this one already? Exile the top 2 cards. Till the end of your next turn, you can play those cards, and then up to 2 target creatures each get 2/1 till end of turn. And then our good old Jungle Hollow, followed by a Bird Monk token. All right. Next, this is pack 8 of 9 from this bundle. We have the High Spire Bellringer for 3. She's a 1/4 flyer. Second spell costs 1 less to cast. Tempest Hawk for 3. It's a 2/2 flyer. Whenever this creature deals damage to a player, you can search your library for a card named Tempest Hawk, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle, and a deck can have any number of cards named Tempest Hawk. Very funny. You could just have an entire brood of Tempest Hawks. Then we have another Goblin Warrior here. For 3, it's a 1/2. When it enters, create a 1/1 red goblin. And for 1 and tap, target creature you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. We have the Caustic Exhale. So again, I think I saw an article pop up in my Facebook ads or something that was focusing on this. So this is the first time I've seen this guy. It's a mono black instant for 1 black mana as an additional cost. Behold a dragon or pay 1. Target creature gets -3/-3 till end of turn. So that's for only 1 mana. Interesting. Of course, you're going to want to behold a dragon, otherwise it costs 2, and then is it really worth it at that point? Then Crodic Nest Guard for 3, insect with defender, 4/4, pay 3, it can attack as though it didn't have defender. Teamer Devotee for 2, you have a 3/3 defender and pay 1 to add one of those different types. Teamer Tawnyback, we saw that guy earlier. When he enters, draw and discard. Iridescent Tiger, he's expensive, 3/4 as he enters. If you cast it, add one of each. Sandstep Citadel enters tapped, and you can tap it to add one of those. Rolling Dragonstorm, so I think this is a new one for us. A 2-cost enchantment. When this enchantment enters, draw 2 cards, then discard a card, and then you can bounce it back to your hand. Hardened Tactician for 3, 2/4, sacrifice a token to draw a card. Sinkhole Surveyor, Bird Scout for 2, it's a 1/3 flyer. Whenever this creature attacks, you lose a life, and this creature endures 1. Either put a counter on it or create a spirit token. That's actually kind of interesting for 2. Buff up a little flyer here, but it does cost your life each time. Ooh, and then you have look at this. This is a full art, very cool enchantment. As our foil, when it enters, search your library for the 2 basic lands. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. How I wish it wasn't basic lands, but still, it's repeatable, so it'll get your mana out there. And then the Swiftwater Cliffs, and we have a Warrior. My gosh, you'd want a lot of these, right? Or just put a dice on it, I guess. Ooh, but I like that we have the 4/4. This is fantastic. This is the side that I'm excited about, especially with my Dragon Queen creating all those 4/4 dragons. But the Warrior is going to be very handy for all of those mobilized situations. All right. We are coming up on 55 minutes. This live is about to last an hour, and we've only opened 9 booster packs. This is booster pack number 9 right here. But look at this. We're going to have a new goblin creature token as well, which is always exciting. All right, we have Sarkhan's Resolve for 2. Instant, either get a target creature 3/3 or destroy target creature with flying. Don't like that. So for 2 mana, you can take out a dragon. You gotta feel like, especially in this, I almost said cycle or block, in this set, that is probably in a lot of decks. Ringing Strike Mastery for 1 enchanted creature. And when this enters, tap it, and it doesn't untap during its untap step, but it does have 5 to untap it. So that's interesting, especially it only costs 1. I mean, my gosh, you can even just paying 1 to tap a creature would be cool, but then the fact that it doesn't untap unless its controller pays 5 is nice. For 1 mana, that's good. Poise Practitioner, a 3-cost human monk 2/3 with flurry that allows you, whenever you play your second spell, to put a 1/1 on this creature and scry 1. Then you have a Jeskai Devotee for 2/2/2 flurry. Second spell gets you a 1/1 till end of turn. And for 1, you can add one of those colors. Alicia's Legacy. Alicia's my commander in one of my other decks. For 2-cost instant, target creature you control gains Death Touch and Indestructible till end of turn. Lightfoot Technique we've seen. Monastery Messenger, 2/3 Flying Vigilance. When it enters, put up to 1 target non-creature, non-land card from your graveyard on top of your library. Waste Speaker Bodyguard for 4. It's a 3/4 Orc Monk. When it enters, return target non-land permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. And when you cast your second spell each turn, tap target creature an opponent controls. We have the Dragon Claw Strike. Double the power and toughness of target creature you control until end of turn. It then fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls, which is interesting. I mean, we have that other card that I think only costs like 2 to just straight up deal a creature's power to another creature. I mean, I get the fact that doubling the power and then having them fight is interesting, but man, that's still going to cost you 3 different mana or as much as 6 colorless mana. Overwhelming Surge. Is this our rare? No, this is still the uncommon. For 3 mana, instant, choose 1 or both. Overwhelming Surge deals 3 damage to target creature, and potentially destroy target non-creature artifact. Then the Teamer Battlecrier. Oh, we got this already in the pack as the foil. 4/3, but the most exciting part is that spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with the 4 or greater. And then, oh my goodness, we also had this. This is the kind of thing you'd only expect to see in like a collector pack. So that's cool that we have this. What is this? Nature's Rhythm. It is a X cost with 2 forests or 2 green mana. Sorcery, search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and it also can harmonize for that amount. So that is interesting, especially if you have, this is the kind of card you want when you are just mana flooded and you're like, come on, there's plenty of things I can play in this deck and I have all the mana in the world to play and I'm just not drawing them. Corroding Dragonstorm, I think we saw that one. When it enters, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life and surveil 2 and bounce it back to your hand. That's our foil. And then the Dismal Backwater is our tap land. And then we have another Warrior Goblin token. All right. Fantastic. That is it, folks. So we opened 9 packs in about an hour. That's how slow this was. But look at all this. So we have our first, I don't know, however many cards that was, 14 times 9. So over 100 cards right there. All right, that'll do it. I may do some more unboxings when we unbox and unpack some of these other packs, but we'll see. I also want to try to do some of this on TikTok and other platforms as well. But otherwise, this bundle was cool, if not just for this spin down alone. All right, folks, that'll do it. Thank you all so much for watching. I do truly appreciate it. And until next time.